Welcome to Awake to Oneness Radio. I am Caroline Chang, your host. The mission of Awake to Oneness Radio is to inspire the world to awaken to the universal truth of oneness. Science is now teaching us that everything is energy, and that energy is interconnected and interdependent. In essence, that energy is one thing. Ancient wisdom and spirituality has been teaching the truth of oneness for eons, and now science is catching up. But this isn't even new science. This science has been around for over 100 years old. Over 100 years, quantum physics, which is the base core principle of quantum physics is oneness, that where everything is interconnected and interdependent. So when mankind awakens to the universal truth of oneness, there will be peace on earth. Today's show topic is the reality revolution with Brian Scott. Brian, welcome to Awake to Oneness Radio.
Hello, Caroline.
Hi, thank you for being my guest today. I truly appreciate it. You have your own podcast.
I do.
And a book. And I'm working on my first book, so I'll catch up.
I can't wait to read it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I just say that jokingly because it's not a race or anything. But please share, Brian, please introduce yourself to our listeners. Share your journey with our listeners.
Well, if I have the podcast and the Reality Revolution, you can find me on YouTube as Brian Scott. And I am, like you, very interested in reality and the oneness and the universe and a variety of different topics. The story that I talk about in my book is I had an incident occur where it was like a kind of a near-death experience where I should have died.
Okay.
And following that, I noticed major changes in my world, reality shifts, objects appearing that shouldn't have been there. And I started to really think that something had happened to my reality. It didn't make sense. I was concerned that a little bit that I was going insane. So I had to rationalize and figure this out. So I go deep into the quantum physics of parallel realities and that kind of thing, and to try to answer what had happened to me.
Right. Now, before we get into that, take us back. Let's go back. We jumped to take us back to when that happened and what even before. Take us back a little bit about your journey before you had that experience.
Sure.
Then tell us about that experience and afterwards. Okay.
Well, several years before this happened, I was what I thought was in a pretty okay situation, a couple kids, and the woman that I was with, she ended up with somebody else. She found her first love. And so, and then she took the kids because I wasn't going to fight it and make a really tough situation out of it. And I was really in a very terrible spot. I was incredibly depressed. Debts were everywhere. I was drinking heavily. And I, more importantly, had lost hope for the world that I was in. I'd given up. And I knew that the hill I had to climb was so long and complicated, I could never overcome it. And I didn't have the resources in my own life. It seemed like impossible for me to overcome all these. I'd lost everything. And so I went within something I had. It was in neuro-linguistic programming. I knew a lot about about what it meant, but I had never gone through the practice of actually trying to go within. So I started meditating and studying all forms of meditation and consciousness expansion. And in the process began to awaken and see major changes in my reality. Manifesting and creating incredible things. All the problems that I had, I was very quickly able to overcome and resolve, and found new love, and I found new hope, and it was so powerful to me that I was at one point in a very deep meditation. I felt like I had been visited by my higher self. Okay. And was warned. So, things are going to happen, but you're okay. Everything's going to be okay. Right. So a little while after that, I'm sitting in my house. I'm a Bronco fan. It's after the Super Bowl, and so I'm stayed up late. My Broncos won the Super Bowl, and
okay.
you stay.
I'm Eagles. And we won a couple of years ago, our first.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know.
When your team wins the Super Bowl.
Oh my God.
You stay up all night. You watch all the news. You watch all the news of all the sports, which is what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
I'm laying on my couch. And so a group of kids were going around and robbing houses.
Really?
They had jumped the backyard of my, I had a backyard where they could jump over past the park. And there was 2 porch sliding doors, one for my bedroom and one for my kitchen.
Yes.
And so I think they looked in and there's nobody in the bed. Maybe they thought that nobody was in there. And I was, I'm watching, so I don't have the doors locked. I'm just kind of, you know how you're in that state. So
yeah.
And I had one of those doors where my friend, I was renting the house and it went kind of made a noise, I needed to grease it. And I didn't want to call my friend. And it was one of those things that every time you opened it, and so I heard that noise.
Okay.
And I heard a voice, something telling me to get up and being guided, like something else was happening. And of course I want to go, okay, well, what's that? But I went to the door, the back porch door, and there's a kid standing there with a gun pointed at me.
Oh my God.
And so in that moment, I shut the door, and turned around and I heard the gunshot.
Oh my God.
It wasn't like in the movies. It wasn't a boom. It was a pop because he was shooting with a .22. And in that moment, everything slowed down. And there was this internal moment that I was in where I could see all these different variables playing out, my futures, my past. Life is flashing I could see myself dying over here and getting shot in the shoulder. And so I'm running and I feel something hit my back.
Wow.
And then I turn the corner and there's somebody else in the other room. It was 2 kids.
Oh my God.
He starts shooting at me, but it's all happening like in a movie. The bullets are coming by and, but never once did my heart elevate. Was I scared or anything like that?
Oh my God.
So then I run out into the back, yard, and these kids run away because they're scared. They don't know what, I wasn't going to go back and try to do anything, but I got lucky. But the whole time I'm worried about my cat because my doors are.
Oh yeah, you're being shot at, and you're worried.
I'm thinking, my cat's got out.
Wow.
So then they take me to the hospital. It looks like something's on your back, and the bullet had bounced off my back. In that moment had gone through the glass door, and it was a 2-pane glass, so it went. I could hear it, and then it bounced because maybe the angle I was at or whatever I was doing, or being that I'd shut the door. And so afterwards, I'm at the hospital. They let, all I have is my phone and one of those gowns, those paper gowns, and those slippers they give you. And I have some boxers on, and so I'm in the Uber. I don't have anything else, the Uber takes me back to my house and it's all taped off. I can't even go in. There's helicopters, and the kids were from some house right across the street, and the cops had traced them down.
Oh my God.
But I'm unable to go to my house. Where's my cat? But I'm watching this whole time standing there because I can't go to my house. Them going into this house, the house is surrounded. There's like 20 cops, and they battering down the doors of this house, right? And so it's obviously very weird and traumatic. I get into my house, and then later I start to notice major changes, like lamps that I didn't buy that are sitting there. You know your house.
Yeah.
Lamps in your house. There's not gonna be a lamp that you don't know, right? So
right.
Lamps, objects. I talk to my kids. They seem different. People are calling me that I have never talked to, that are acting like I'm a regular friends with. And later as I go along, there's a place right next to this house where there was an empty lot that I would run across.
Yeah.
There's that one empty lot you cut across and it was a building, and it was an old building. And so I was really concerned about my own sanity. I knew that something had happened, and perhaps I had forgotten.
Right.
My memory was bad. I was playing into seeing things that weren't there. So I had a feeling. So then I need to prove or find out what happened. So I kind of went on a journey.
Okay, I'm gonna slow you up a little bit because I'm a little confused. So I'm sure some of the listeners are. So okay, so we go now. What year was that the Broncos won? Because only thing I know is Eagles. So what year was it that the Broncos?
4 years ago. I think that's 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Okay. All right. So so the Broncos had just won the Super Bowl. Right. You're like all excited, and then 2 kids are breaking into your house. You hear them coming in, but you didn't panic. You just got up and went to see what was going on. Then these kids start shooting at you, and so what happened? Did you get just one shot? What were you?
The bullet bounced off my back, and I was not shot. I was not hurt. There was nothing wrong. They looked at me at the hospital and they said, nothing.
You could go home.
You can just go home. There's nothing wrong with you. And if a 22 goes into your body, it's even worse than a heavier.
I don't know guns at all.
Yeah, neither do I.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So thank goodness. I think if I had a gun, I'd have had false courage in that situation, right?
Yeah. So,
all of this, that stuff's not as important. I mean, I
right. Well, I'm trying to get to I'm trying to get to where you were getting. So after, you went to the hospital, you weren't really hurt that bad. They sent you home. Now, when they sent you home, you're saying to us that everything seemed different.
Right. Following that, the days following, I just noticed major changes in my experience. And my first instinct was I look for a rational explanation. You know, I'm a neuro-linguistic program. I've worked with people that have post-traumatic stress disorder. So my first thought is I've got some kind of PTSD. So I went to the doctor. The doctor said, there's nothing that we can see, but, try the, and I started, I go into different places, looking at different explanations. Then I started talking to physicists, because that is the point that I was led down the road. Was I in a different reality? I'm seeing so many little things that are different. So I needed to figure this out. So I'm one of those people that I will research everything on a topic. I'm one of those, I think that's my purpose, is I'm a researcher, and I want to know everything. People that know my podcast will know that I just go down the rabbit hole, and I'm conscious. So that's what I did with this book.
Okay.
And one of the things that happened to me after this moment, the moment that I survived, is I looked back and what have I done with my life? Did I really even, did I deserve to have this second chance? Like I was somewhat like, I need to deserve this second chance that I was given. And so my goal after that point was, every single day I can breathe is a wonderful thing. It's I'm so grateful, just because I shouldn't be around right now. I'm very grateful to be able to talk to you.
Right.
I had to share all the stuff I learned along the process, because along the way, all these techniques of consciousness expansion and things that I learned, it would have been selfish of me
I see the cat now.
Yeah, that's the cat.
Wait. Because I love you. You're going like a mile a minute, and I understand what you're saying, but I want the audience to understand too. Now, are you saying one of the things that was different was that there was an empty lot in one reality that has a building on it, an old building, you said, in this second reality? Wow, that's a big difference. We're not talking about a lamp. We're talking about a building.
It's a big difference. And
that's huge.
There's, Cynthia Sue Larson, a physicist that I spoke with on my podcast, has recognized this happens more than we think.
Oh, yes.
It is called a reality shift, and people have reported buildings and objects. I was not even aware as much that was a common thing, or as common. We had the Mandela effect.
Right.
Maybe so. But my first instinct was, this is not rational. This is not the world that I've grown up in. And so it was, that's at least what inspired the process that I went through, and all the knowledge I gained. At some point after this, several years, I got to start a podcast, and I got to write a book about this, because all these people out there, I knew, because what I was going through was common. People have struggles with money and addiction, and they want to give up. And I've been there, And I just felt like, if, you know, I got to write this book, and if one person out there reads it, maybe I can help them out. And that's really the point of the book is, we have control over our reality. We control our reality through our thoughts. And I explain a dynamic system that helps you to maneuver in this reality if you have an understanding that you control it, using everything from concepts of quantum physics to hypnosis to vibration machines and everything that you can imagine, because it helped me learning these things, going through this journey, and so hopefully somebody else doesn't have to go through all of it. And that was what I was trying to do.
Wow. Well, no, I just love, I mean, I'm listening. Like I said, I'm totally following you. I'm totally with you. I just want our listeners. So when I have you back up a little bit, I just want our listeners, because you're excited about it, and it's coming out, but I totally get you.
To the end at the beginning. I knew if I went down that rabbit hole, it would.
Yeah, no. I get you on so many different levels, because I say the same thing, maybe in different wording, because like everything is energy, literally. I remember in 7th grade when we were studying molecules, and my 7th grade teacher, and this stuck with me because it was truth. My 7th grade science teacher said, nothing is truly solid. You put anything under a high power microscope, what do you see? First of all, you see movement. It's meaning there's life in there. Nothing has no life. Everything has life in it. And so you see moving atoms that are not even touching. And then now we know that within an atom is 99.9%, 99.999% empty space. In truth, we do not live in a physical reality. Not at all.
Space is something too. The space is something too. And that's, I agree with you. I think I saw your interview where you talked to some of the people on the Law of One. That channeled Ra, the being. I think it was.
Yes.
John Elkins or
LL Research. I think is the name. Yes.
And so that is very much along the lines of what I think, that we're all one thought, we're all one energy, and I talk about that in the book, that everything is energy, just different vibrations of energy. The thing that we're not talking about is the space.
Yes.
The space is also a living energy. We're always looking at the physical part, but that space is where it's all coming from.
Exactly. And I talk about that. I don't know if you ever seen my presentation, but I talk about that in my presentation, where science, and this is recent science, in what we think is empty space is dark matter and dark energy. And dark matter and dark energy make up at least 96% of the universe. And when I say the universe, I mean everything. Is 96% of what is actually out there we cannot detect with our physical senses. This is all science. Everything I believe in is grounded in science. And the multi-world or multi-dimensional theory is what you're talking about. And like you said, we have all had shifts that we didn't notice it as much as like a whole building. Wow, that's a bit. But I mean, it happens to us all the time. We're actually shifting dimensions, and we're shifting millions of dimensions in every moment.
I agree.
Yes.
I think that there's a part of our subconscious and our higher self that is protecting us from major changes.
Yes.
Because we will generally go insane. And then what happened in my case, my higher self, my subconscious had no choice. It was either you're going to go to this reality or you're going to die in the rest of them.
Right.
That's my theory of how I look at it. That's why I saw such major changes that I would normally see. Because once you start to really meditate and think about quantum jumping, and you'll start to notice, and you start to notice reality shifts much more than, we walk around and we don't see that the pencil moved a couple inches or the new we just kind of are oblivious to all these little changes.
Well, one of the things that happened to us a lot is that we're looking for something, and we're looking, and we know we looked in that spot 1,000 times, and then
that is true.
It's there. wait a second. I know I looked there before. It wasn't there before, you know? So, yes. So that's one of the things. Yes.
Yes. And I agree with that. That is an example. It could be very minor, but our mind is going to rationalize when we have these events happen. And so we're naturally going to try to find an explanation for it, because the alternative would make us crazy. So there's part of that I'm talking about in the book, that I embrace it now.
Oh, yes.
Now that I know that these parallel realities exist, I can choose my own reality. Exactly. The law of attraction, what we think is law of attraction, where we're attracting something to us, we're actually moving to a reality where that thing happens. We're not attracting it. We're just choosing it, because there's these multiple realities. And
that was honestly, exactly what you said. For me, I studied a lot about law of attraction, Abraham Hicks, listened to that every day, but there was a missing piece for me. Here's what got me is the power of now, understanding that all those realities exist right here and now. Right. And I choose it by my attention and my focus, by my vibration, by my frequency, because everything's a frequency.
Absolutely.
And so I choose that experience, that reality, by my core frequency. I get that. I actually had a similar experience, and this is an experience I never shared with any of my listeners. When I was a very young mother, I had my first child. She was 3 months old at the time. My husband, we had our own apartment, but when my daughter was very young, my first baby, we stayed at my parents' house a lot. And so we were staying at my parents' house in my room, in my bedroom that I grew up in. And the doorbell rang and my dad was out. So my husband just assumed it was my dad forgot his keys. He got up, he opened the door. It was two guys with guns, just what they call home invasion. And I'm upstairs with my child, my 3-month-old child. And one of them comes up into the bedroom and actually picks up, my daughter was asleep in her bassinet, and he picks her up and literally holds a gun to my 3-month-old daughter. I like I said, my heart didn't beat any faster. I didn't say a word. I didn't freeze. It was like, I don't know. I can't even describe that moment, but it was very similar to what you just described. And then the other guy, the other robber, comes in and says, "Oh man, don't do that." And he takes the baby from him and gives the baby to me, like saying, "Don't hold a gun to a baby's head." But I understand exactly what you mean when it's like slow motion.
Right.
Like how could someone literally pick up your baby and hold a gun to your baby's head?
Oh my! I can't believe you went through that.
It's not real.
Yeah,
it's not real.
It's such a crazy moment.
Yes.
We don't I believe in simultaneous time, like you say.
Yes.
There's all these realities all happening in the now.
Yeah.
1984 is happening right now. It's all happening right now.
Yes. Yes.
But there's some kind of elevated thing that happens when we are in these incredible moments. Maybe the chemicals are produced in our brain, but there's an awareness that we have. And so what you explained, it confirms what I've heard this as well. It's something else came over you, and I can't explain it. I
can't put it into words. There's no words for it. But it was like I didn't scream or like, oh my God. I didn't have any of that kind of reaction. It's almost like I was frozen, but I wasn't frozen with fear. It wasn't fear. It wasn't, my heart didn't start racing. None of that. It was just I can't even find words for it.
Right. That is an amazing experience. I'm so glad.
Yes.
That everything's okay.
Yes. She's actually 39 years old now, my daughter. Yes.
Wow, but that's something that sticks. That's part of what I talk about in the book. When we have feelings end up generating these big changes. And so major events, so we don't have to have these things happen. We can generate them within our own field through meditation. By amplifying our emotional states. And the feeling being the secret, that's part of, we were amplified in that state naturally, but it's something you can recreate these moments without the craziness.
Exactly. And
Right.
every now moment, because all there is the now. Have you
That's
ever
all
read
that.
The Power of Now?
Of course, yes.
Oh yes. Oh my goodness. That just because and scientifically, I always talk about science. What's his name? Stephen Hawkins,
Oh,
who just
yes.
recently passed. Something in his research proved that the now affects the past and the future. All
Yes.
there is the now. Every moment in time is happening right here and now. We're living hundreds and thousands maybe of lives in the past, in the future, and
Yes.
now. It's where we're focusing our attention is what we will experience. We are creating it all.
One of the
We're
things,
creating it. Yes.
yes, you're absolutely, one of the things I talk about in the book is this concept that we are making a mistake of linear time. And if you imagine that time is like a lake where it's all happening at once, when you throw the pebble, it spreads out circular, meaning into the past and future. And so when we're sitting here and we sense something, it's like we're sensing that wave from the future.
Yes.
And so tuning yourself into it, you often hear when people, hey, I didn't go into the building on 9/11. I didn't get on the plane before it crashed, because they're sensing an alternate version. It may not happen in theirs, where there's some kind of information coming from the future, because if you tune into the now contains information about your future. And,
Yes.
I'm talking about that. And I found some really interesting physicists that talk about these waves that are being created, and we are accessing, I think we're creating a reality by these waves that come from the past and future.
Yes.
And I agree with you 100%.
Yes. Yes. And to me, I see each now ripples out both ways.
Both ways.
See, we never think, because we think of everything linear. We don't think of the now affecting the past, but it does.
Right.
The now is actually affecting both the past and the future. And Stephen Hawkins, in his work, he discusses that. Now, I'm not a scientist like he is, so I couldn't explain it scientifically like him, but it was very interesting to read that in his latest work, he has determined that the now affects the past and the future. We're thinking the now only affects the future, but the now, it ripples out both ways. The now is where it's at. It's basically.
And one of the really interesting things about his last paper is that he was documenting that when you look out, you can see that there may have been evidence of another universe that may be bumped up against our universe. Yes. When you really go in deep with some of the stuff he was talking about, you start to see some real authentic proof of alternate universes. It may be on different levels, and we may not be what we understand, but his work is verifying that as well.
And I understand. Well, I don't know if you've ever heard of the many worlds theory.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about in the book. Yes.
Yes, many worlds theory. So in essence, what it's saying, in every now moment, we have a choice to turn left, and we have a choice to turn right. In the many worlds theory, we do both.
Yes.
We have turned, and then you turn right and your life is one way, and you turn left and your life goes in, and both lifelines exist.
Yes.
And
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
That is so mind-blowing for the human mind to understand. But I say all the time, I believe everything that can happen does happen.
Yes.
In the alternate reality.
But the argument is, can we in this moment of now, can we sense these other realities? Can we use a knowledge of these other realities, or are we completely locked out of it? There are, like Sean Carroll, a physicist, will argue we're locked out of it. But I try to make the argument in my book that we aren't locked out of it, that we can sense and move into these parallel realities.
I agree with you. I think we are infinite beings. We are limitless. We have so much power that we just are not aware of. And I believe as humanity is awakening, and that's what you're doing with your book and your show, and what I'm doing is inspiring humanity to awaken to who we truly are as divine infinite beings of light. And all things are possible. So I don't believe in this locked out. No. We can decide to turn left, and another aspect of us goes right. But at some point, we can still end up on the same timeline as that other version of us. Yes. I do believe that. I do. Yes. I don't think there's no boundaries to what we can do as far as quantum leaping.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know if do you listen to Bashar, Daryl Anka?
I do.
Yes. And that's where I understood, because Bashar talks about how not just from one reality to the next, we are in every now moment, we are passing through millions of reality. Yes. And they seem the same because we're our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions are the same. That's right. Why, but you had such a jolt when you had your experience that, wow, wait a second, I didn't buy that lamp. Wait a second, that building wasn't there. That's like major. That's like major changes there.
Right.
But the only reason it's like I love the analogy of a film strip. That if you pull out a film strip, all the frames are there in the now moment. And you can jump from the first frame to the last frame.
Right.
And skip over or jump back into the middle. It's there because every moment is just a still image. It's just a still image.
You could slow down. You could slow down our time so that we would literally be in a movie type of situation where it's framed by it's a millionth per second. It's something that we can't perceive.
Exactly.
But you're absolutely right. I do think we load up our own film frames.
Yes.
By our thought processes and our actions that we're taking.
Yes.
And I talk about that in the book. One of the interesting, if you've ever read about reality transurfing, they're talking about using energy streams, something called the platen that's in the back of the head, loading up film roll. They actually use that analogy and using that. And I've tested around with that, but you're absolutely right. That's part of the experience that I find fascinating is that there is a rate. It is obviously faster for our experience. We're experiencing a holographic 3D film that's almost
of our own creation.
But it's also a holographic 3D mirror that we're experiencing because it's always ends up being a reflection at the same time. So it's fascinating.
Yes. I think of our core being as the projector, and the outer world is the movie screen. But we're the projector, and we're projecting it out onto this canvas. Right. And we are the directors, we're the writers, we're everything. I like to always point out to my listeners that we are creating this film. We are creating this movie, this dream, this play of our own creation. How wise was Shakespeare, when he said all the world is a stage and all the people are players on it. You know how wise, that was a very wise man. And so I like to remind people to go within and understand that nobody is doing anything to you. You're not a victim of your reality. Yes. You are the creator of your reality. And you have the power to change it if you want to change it. Sometimes it takes dramatic things like you almost dying. Right. And I've had several quantum leaps in my life. My son, who is in spirit, my youngest child, he transitioned to spirit 5.5 years ago. But before 2.5 years before he actually physically left his body, doctors said he wasn't going to live. And he pulled himself off life support, and his vital signs were perfect. And the doctors were like, "Oh my God!" It was a true medical miracle. That medical miracle that happened in December of 2011, and it happened in a hospital in Philadelphia on 34th Street. So in my book, that chapter is The Miracle on 34th Street, one of my favorite Christmas movies, because it happened right around Christmas time on 34th Street. He literally pulled himself off life support, and he was fine. So I know that was a miracle. I know that was a quantum leap, and I know that literally changed my life, because from that miracle, I made a promise to God. I said, God, I will never stop thanking you for that miracle. I had my son with me 2.5 years longer because he knew I wasn't ready. So he stayed a little bit longer because every soul has its time. So that was one of his exit points, but he stayed a little bit longer for me. And then I understood. So when he actually transitioned, 2.5 years later, he actually transitioned to July of 2014. I was at complete peace. I knew that it was a soul plan he and I had made. I knew that he wasn't going anywhere. He's very much still with me. And I knew that it was his time. It was his soul's time. Every soul comes into this life experience, and every soul leaves this life experience in perfect divine timing. There are no accidents. Everything is in perfect divine order. And I knew that when he actually left. I didn't know it when, I kind of knew it because I was awake, but it was like I didn't want to deal with it. I tried to commit suicide. When doctors told me that he wasn't going to live in December of 2011, I went up to a waiting room in the hospital and took a bottle of over-the-counter sleeping pills. Oh, and wow. I'm still here, so it was like, so it's meaning that it wasn't my time. If it was my time, I wouldn't still be here. Everything happens in perfect divine timing. Perfect divine timing. Yes, and everything that can happen does happen. Yes.
It's absolutely fascinating to me. And that's what I'm trying to talk about, all the stuff that you're saying. I hear stories all the time, and I'm trying to share that in the book. I think that there's something to it. Yes. I'm sure that other people are going to continue to explore this. Yes. I also try to explore the literature on it because there's a lot of other writers that are talking about, but it's not something that we can go out and really prove except through experience and discussion. So it's not like some scientist is going to explain it.
Right. You know why it can't be proved in the way we, quote unquote, as human beings want it to be proved, because our physical being is so limited. And this is proven by science. We can't, our sight, our sense of smell, our taste, all of this, our 5 senses are so extremely limited. So when people say to me, well, if I can't see it or hear it or sense it with my 5 senses, it doesn't exist. So I say to them, then you're negating 99.99999% of what is actually happening. So we can't go by our limited, so it can't be proven by our limited senses. Plus it's a catch-22. Meaning what you believe, you create it. So if you believe in it, you're going to create it. Okay, so it's a catch-22. So yes.
Right.
Yes. So but it's like I've gotten to the point where I try that. I do a talk now where I go to different spiritual centers and different unity churches and universalist churches that are open to this, and I do this talk, and it's all grounded in simple layman science, because I'm not a scientist, but everything I share, I back it up with hardcore science. Here we learned when we were in 7th grade, I know I did, that this is not a solid world we live in. It appears very solid, but it's not. So when you understand it, well, let me think. Well, yeah, my teacher did tell me it's not solid, but it feels solid, so which one are you gonna embrace? Because it's all about what we embrace. We can embrace this quote unquote 3D matrix. What we're living in is a 3D matrix. You can embrace that or understand that you are an infinite being of light creating this matrix, and you can go to a higher level. Because I believe humanity is at this time, especially what we're living through right now, the pandemic and everything. This is the beginning of mass awakening.
I hear that every day now. I think it's more and more people are feeling it.
Yes,
it feels like that to me. Yes. As I've discussed with others, you go back and look at the great spiritual gurus that have lived on the earth, Buddha and Jesus and Muhammad, they all end up going through a desert phase where they're alone and isolated for for a period of time. And so we have the whole world going through that.
Yes.
So we're going to have a whole world that's waking up as Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad all over the world right now. People are realizing their divine, eternal being, and that's what is happening.
Yes,
and
this
it's
is very
exciting.
Yes.
I talk about on my channel Dolores Cannon, the Law of One, the harvest, and we are going through this shift to a new earth.
Yes.
And I think that we don't all necessarily know what that means.
Yes.
I am very fascinated by it. Yes. I do believe we're evolving. It's an ongoing, eternal thing. It never ends.
Exactly.
And how does my cat look at a human being? How does
I know.
We're becoming like a dog becomes a human. Like we're becoming something
right.
that we can't
the thing is, though,
some energy being that can do so much more. Yeah.
I believe animals are much more wiser than we are. Animals are wiser than we are because they are more in tune with nature. So we human beings, we have distanced ourselves with nature so much. Animals are not. If you notice, like if there's going to be a hurricane or a tsunami or anything, the birds are like way gone. You're like, where are the birds going? And then 10 minutes later, there's a tsunami. The birds knew. They're like, I'm getting out. You know what I mean? They know that, especially wild animals. Domestic animals, they kind of adapt to their human counterparts more so. But wild animals are very in tune with nature.
Yes.
And they're always in the now moment. While they're not wondering about the past or dreaming about the future. They're in the now.
Yes.
Well, they're like, so they are very in tune. So,
nature, I think, is the one source, and I think that when you're an animal, and even though you're not as intelligent, you're more tuned to that one source. You're communicating with it. The one source is communicating. So there's the Earth is a living entity.
Yes.
Those animals are more tuned into that part of it, and I agree with that. But the analogy I was also making is, how does an ant look at a human being?
Right.
Imagine if an ant became a human being.
Right.
So we're going through a phase where we were an ant, and now we're becoming a human. That's what it feels like. This awakening. It may not be in our lifetimes, but
I think the wonderful thing is I'm not a psychic or anything like that.
Right.
I believe wholeheartedly it is going to happen in our lifetime. It's going to happen within the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I think really do. And I feel confident enough to say that. And you know what I liken it to more so than an ant? I liken it to a caterpillar.
Yes, that's a great
And
analogy.
right now we're in that cocooning. We're in that cocoon, and we're going to arise butterflies. We were caterpillars crawling on the ground. Now we are in that cocoon, and it's not comfortable.
Right. Yeah. This planet, they're doing it on purpose. They want us.
Yes.
I think it's all about consciousness. My own theory is that the thing that scientists aren't measuring when they look at the microscopic and when they look at atoms is consciousness. What's the smallest unit of consciousness? So I think that these higher beings are constantly trying to create beings that can hold more consciousness.
Yes.
And so what we're doing is we're evolving, and maybe our DNA is being changed by viruses, who knows, but they want us to hold more consciousness, either in this iteration or evolving to another. They desperately want a being that can be more. It's about consciousness.
Yes,
So
everything.
we are moving to an expansion of consciousness, and that's what I think the Earth Project really is.
Yes,
feels like to me. Yeah.
Yes, very true. And I think of everything as consciousness. I mean, science calls it energy. I call that energy consciousness. And I also have another name for that consciousness is love.
Mm-hmm.
So it's energy, consciousness, love. To me, it's all the same thing, which in everything is that essence, is that love, is that energy, is consciousness.
Yes, love is not what we think. It's an actual living energy that's creating universes.
Exactly.
I agree with that.
Exactly. Yes.
It's interesting because it's harder to maneuver through realities and find your own power if you divorce yourself from love. When your heart is tuned into love, it opens up So it seems like this power that we're moving towards is intricately tuned in to love, and aligning our heart and mind together is a part of it, as a part of this awakening. It's almost like we wouldn't give a 5-year-old the keys to a Lamborghini and just start driving.
Exactly.
Right? They want us to learn how to drive first. So we're going through this slower process of learning about what more is possible, because we would just drive the Lamborghini right into the building, right? So
yes.
Our what we are becoming is it seems gradual, but it is. That's what it feels like. I think you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I do. Now, I don't know if you heard the term 5D. Like I mentioned that we're in now is the 3D matrix of our own creation, of our own collective creation, because we're connected. Everything's a collective, and we are, as a collective, rising to the 5th dimension, which is, and people say, well, what happened to the 4th? The 4th dimension is that bridge between 3D to 5D. But 5D, we will actually, right now, our bodies are carbon-based. Like you said, our DNA is being upgraded right now, and it will be a crystalline-based body, much lighter body, and we will be able to read each other's minds.
Yes.
Nobody could lie anymore. Okay, because I can read your mind. Why are you trying to lie to me?
I think we'll be able to travel instantly. Our thoughts will become things much faster. What I'm saying, the title of the book is Reality Revolution.
Yes.
And if you notice this intuitively, it feels like we're choosing or creating realities much faster than we used to. So go back to 1999 or 2000, and your thought, you might see it manifest a year later.
Exactly.
And now we're seeing the same process where we're seeing a month later. But the biggest problem is that there's a lot of people out there that are creating their reality. They have no idea they're doing it. So they're just being manipulated by a system that uses fear. And so their fears are being manifested. So the world seems crazy because the world is full of fear.
Yes.
And so the big goal I have with my book is for us to understand this and divorce ourselves from this process so we can choose love over fear. Because what's happening now is that we're just creating realities of fear, and we're doing it better and better. That's why I'm sure the entities that are doing this, hey, we got to be careful. So what you and I are doing is important, so that we can teach people that your fears are becoming reality as you awaken.
Exactly. Now here's why right now is so important. Now I've been I listen because I stopped watching mainstream news in September of 2001, right after 9/11. It was a directive. Like I said, I'm not a channel, I'm not a psychic. This was a direct order from inside my soul.
Yeah.
Turn off that news and don't ever turn it back on. That was September of 2001. I did not know why at the time. I did find out years later. Now, what's happening right now is, now I was told by channeled information and by inner knowing, like the middle of 2019, 2020, it's going to be a pivotal year. It's a year of clear vision. It's a year that what you're speaking of and what I have known for many years is going to be disclosed to the masses. Full disclosure. And that's what's happening right now. Right now, the quote unquote, we'll say the powers that be are trying to, it's a fear tactic with this whole, they own the media. The virus thankfully was not as deadly as it intended it to be. It's not. It's not at what because there are, let's just say, forces of light preventing them. Everything they've been trying the last few years, they haven't been successful at. This is their last ditch attempt right now. Yeah. And once this last attempt is over with, it's going to be full disclosure. People, it's going to be like that movie, The Truman Show.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you familiar with that?
I am, of course.
Spirit told me that this morning. Spirit said, you know what, for the masses, it's going to be like The Truman Show. It's going to be, they're going to be like, what? But it's full this year, 2020. It's going to be a year. Now, I thought it wasn't going to start happening till September of this year. It has started. When I realized 2 weeks ago, wait a second, the Great Awakening is happening now.
Right.
And if we look at the positive things that have happened in the last 3 weeks to Mother Earth, to Gaia. Dolphins are showing back up where they haven't been for years.
Mm-hmm.
The smog situation in LA is going away. It's the Earth in 3 weeks has greatly started to heal herself. In 3 weeks, with mankind slowing down and not doing so much destructive stuff to the Earth, it's already started to regenerate. There's so many. Yesterday I was watching the father and son playing in their yard. And I'm thinking to myself, now, normally this guy would be at work and this kid would be in school. They wouldn't be outside playing. I'm seeing the positive stuff. I'm looking at all of the wonderful things coming from this shutdown.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know in my heart and soul, the virus is nowhere near the way the media is making it out to be, because it's a mass media of fear.
Right.
Because that's the only thing they're feeding off of is our fear now. They have nothing else. The more they keep us in, but once the veil is lifted.
Right. It's a massive test right now for what we're going through. Yes. We're in a hyper fear-based environment, and we have to maneuver through this. If we can maneuver through it in a loving way.
Yes.
And some of the things you said are important. Obviously, there's outside forces. There may be conspiracies, but we only can control our world. And so I don't want to give my power to these other groups and worry about these groups, whatever they're doing.
Right.
Because I am all powerful anyway. So
exactly.
If I see people that are worried, I'm so worried about this corporation or this cabal or this evil, then you're going to lose yourself and you're going to give your power to those things.
I agree with you 1,000%. 1,000%.
I talk about in the book this idea of pendulums. So when you and I think about the same things, almost an energy structure forms that feeds on your energy. And so these groups, these media, so what you've done by not noticing the media, you've divorced yourself from these energy structures they want us to go in a certain reality. So if we can get through this by being positive, as we've just talked about, we will end up on a new earth that is going to be amazing. But what we're doing right now is important, and how we think is important. In my channel, that's what I have 90 meditations. I do think we need to get in touch with ourselves, to go inside. And so it's a big goal of my channel, is because I see it too. There's several different earths. There's a hell earth that we can go to. And if you want to worry about all those things and sit in the negative, then you're going to get it.
Exactly.
So we have a choice right now. And it's all about what we choose in this moment. And it will continue. Yeah.
I agree with you 1,000%. It's all about where we hold our vibration, and we hold all of the power. Fear is the only way we give our power away. When we're in a state of fear, they feed off of fear. So when you stay in every now moment in a state of love, knowing that you are all powerful, they can't touch you. They can't touch you, and you are, like you said. So from what I understand, this right now 3D and 5D are right on top of each other, and we have our choice with our vibration of what we want to focus on. I'm only in this pandemic, I see kids playing outside and they would be in school. I'm like, okay, they're having a party. I see the man playing with his son in the yard, and I'm thinking about, he would be at work, but now he's home playing with his son. I look at how the earth is healing itself in 3 weeks. It's amazing how the earth has healed itself. See, that's what I'm focusing on. So I'm aware of what's going on with the 3D. So that people will say to me, because I don't watch news, you're keeping your head in the sand. No, I'm not. No. My head is not in the sand. I am aware of what's going on. My focus is not on that. My focus is up here. Okay.
It's really funny to think about what's going on right now. Think about all the dudes that have made excuses to their girlfriend. I got a business trip this weekend, and they're probably with someone else, or and now now they're stuck at home, and they don't have any excuse. They can't, I got to go to this business meeting, or I got to go to work. No, you don't have to. It's right now people are forced to connect.
Yes.
They're forced that they can't leave and separate and ignore each other.
Yes.
And so of course there's going to be the domestic abuse and stuff that's happening. Right. But maybe that's part of the process for us to come to a place of love. And the whole planet is happening. And like I said, you can choose right now to see the negatives. Yes, there's always going to be negatives. But if I focus on the negative, I will see more of it. Whatever I focus on, I see more of. So, hey, let's focus on the positives of this. And if I continue to do this, it's a matter of life and death for me too.
Yes.
So it is a matter of life and death for us to choose a positive outset, to choose love in this reality revolution. And that's and also the number one point, because I'm grounded in the oneness aspect of it, meaning look at the yin yang symbol, which is equally dark and equally light. Yes. So I'll use the term cabal. The cabal is our shadow side. We each individually, we have shadow. And collectively, we have shadow. So our collective shadow, we'll give it a name. We'll call it the cabal. Okay, but it's not separate from us. So to ascend, which we want to do, we have the only way to transform the dark is to shine the light on it. We have to bring it has to be exposed to the light, has to be exposed to the world, and then the light of it will actually transform it and transmute it. Now I'm speaking in spiritual terms. So I'm saying the only way to overcome the dark is with the light. Yes. So we have to shine the light and expose it so we can, because we have to transform our dark so we can rise as a humanity to a higher level. And that is what all of our galactic brothers and sisters, they want to see us rise as a humanity, as a collective to the higher dimension. Yeah, the biggest realization I've had along those lines, because I'm thinking about what you just said all the time. I've been reading a lot of Neville Goddard.
I love him. I love him. Yes. I love him.
And he was talking about awakening back then. He was talking about us moving to this next evolution of being. He talks about it. But the really interesting idea is that even the cabal, all this evil, all these things, they're just states.
Yes.
That people are in. It's not the person that's in it. It's not their fault.
Exactly.
They're an eternal being that's just in a state. And so I think part of this awakening is that we've been through a pattern of states that we have been through all our incarnations purposely we've experienced the evil, the good. We've been
it all.
Color of skin.
And everything. That's what the true understanding of oneness is.
It's all
been for a reason. It all.
Right.
Yes.
And so we're going beyond states. We're moving on, and that is part of this process. So you're right. The cabal, you can get all worried and freaked out about it, but it is just a reflection of what's deep down in our souls. And when that realization comes, it's a part of this awakening, and it's really exciting.
Yes.
To understand.
It is an exciting time. When it really dawned on me 2 weeks ago, I haven't really slept much in 2 weeks because I'm so excited. I do know that there's a lot of energy being sent our way, high vibration energy. You can see it on the Schumann resonance that measures the vibration of the earth. It's just at its highest level, and it's just getting higher and higher. We are ascending with Gaia. Gaia, Mother Earth, is a living being. And we are on her. And she's like, I'm going to a higher dimension. You either guys going to come with me or I'm shaking you off. You know, basically, but no, we are ascending with Mother Gaia. So everybody's DNA is getting upgraded right now as we sleep. And so with the high energy, and when I realized this is truly the beginning of the mass awakening, didn't know how it was going to happen, didn't know it was going to start with a virus, but thankfully, truly, the virus was intended, it was engineered and intended to be much more deadly than it is. It's not as deadly as the mainstream cabal-owned media is trying to make it out to be. It truly isn't. So that's the good thing. But the pandemic is making us slow down, not abuse Mother Earth so much, stay inside, get to know our loved ones, maybe have that conversation with your spouse that you needed to have for 10 years. Maybe now is the time you can actually have that conversation.
It's
you know,
amazing.
and spend more time with your kids. And
Yeah.
it is
All
what
those fathers out there that work and never see their kids.
Exactly.
You know how there's millions.
Yes.
And we're seeing it changing. Even mothers that are not seeing their kids.
Exactly.
It's changing. It's exciting.
It's so exciting. It's so exciting.
Yeah. And it's a reality revolution. It really
is right now.
Yeah.
We're having a reality revolution because we are going from
revolution.
Yes. Show your book. Show your book and let them know where they can find it.
You can find it on Amazon.
Amazon, okay.
Yeah.
And your website. What's your website? Your website so they can find you and your podcast.
All the episodes of the podcast are on therealityrevolution.com, or you can also go to Brian Scott on YouTube. They're all both places. You can ask Alexa or Google or anything, and it's all there. And then the book, you can buy it on Amazon right now. That's probably the best, but anywhere the books are sold, you can get Kindle or hardcover. It's all available. I wish, there's a part of me that wishes that I could just give this away.
I know.
My publisher was, you don't want to do that. Because it's not, I want to share this, and I hope that it can help other people in this time right now. I talk about everything from money to relationships. All of that stuff is going on. We're all in this divine experience together. And hopefully maybe some of the stuff that I've been through, I can help other people with. And that's all it is. And your knowledge, what you're doing is important. And so, we got to keep on going and waking people up and staying positive, and it's fun to talk about.
It's wonderful. Also, what you said, I've heard a lot of people say this about you had just said it. Oh God, you know how you have one of those senior moments?
I get it.
Well, you had just said it, but it's
it'll come back after the podcast, right?
No, it's gonna come back in a few seconds. About how togetherness. That's it.
Yes.
I've been hearing a lot of people, even a little on the mainstream news, about the togetherness. That this pandemic is, even though we have to quote unquote social distance, people are getting together on Zoom. People are still, there's more love and compassion, and we realize as a global society that we're in this together.
Right.
That I've been hearing a lot from people, that the world now is like saying, wait a second. We are, no matter where you live in the world, we're in this together.
The LLC, the people that you had on, they had in that channeling, they had a really interesting, the concept is that social memory complexes and that advanced planets around the universe, basically when they go through what we're going through, the next step after we evolve as beings is that they come together as a social memory complex. And it almost is like an advanced being with all individualized. And so that's what we're moving towards. The earth will become a living entity together, all of us knowingly as a social memory. And so the next level of consciousness beyond 5D, the 6D, the sixth density being is an advanced social memory complex. And I think that's part of this evolution. When I think we look at stars and planets, at some point that's an advanced social memory complex that's infinite, and we are on this path to become planets and stars and create galaxies and all of that stuff. And so I think that what you're saying is part of this process, this coming together, but it's natural. It's a part of the universe, and it's really really fascinating.
Yes. True. And the wonderful thing about the 5D, when we and I believe, I'm serious, like I say 5 years, and come 2030, we're going to look back at 2020 and not even recognize it. We're not going to recognize ourselves in as little as 10 years. But in 5 years, I believe we will be living solidly in 5D reality. 5D reality, we will know that we are all connected and we are all one. And so it will be the wars and crimes, and like you went through, you were attacked, you in your own home. I was attacked in my own home. Those things will be like, what?
Yeah.
Our grandchildren will say, that kind of stuff went on, it'll be so far, we won't even recognize that world.
There may be a point where we unveil we're in a veiled situation where we forget when we come into this body.
Exactly.
I think that we eventually reach a point where we remember.
Yes.
And that remembering will minimize all that stuff. Once they have a full memory, and we can't retain the consciousness of those incarnations in our limited, but as we expand, once we have a memory, then all that stuff that we think is important is not important.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I hear in 5D now, I don't, even in 5D, we're going to evolve. Just like, okay, here's 3D. We started living as cavemen, and then we evolved to the 21st century. That's a big jump. Cavemen to 21st. So we're going to go through that same kind of growing in 5D, but somewhere in 5D, we will be living with full knowledge of all of our lifetimes.
Yes.
It may not be at the beginning of 5D, but somewhere in 5D, we will have that knowing.
And once again, if we got all of it right instantly, we would go insane, right?
Right.
Slowly, it's like they're slowly giving us, they're doing their best. I'm sure they want to go faster.
Yeah, just like the cavemen
you can't overwater the plant, right?
Yeah. So, the cavemen had to discover fire and invent the wheel, and then we had the horse and buggy, then we went to the car, then we went to the airplane, so we had but you see how it got faster and faster and faster. So the same thing, as we evolve in 5D, it's going to get faster and faster. Yes. Yeah, we're on the right track.
Yeah.
We're headed to 5D all the way.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm so excited. Like I said, I haven't been, the last 2 weeks because at first like I said, I don't watch the news. I knew what was going on, and I'm trying to figure out what's happening. And then all of a sudden, it came to me 2 weeks ago. Oh, this is the beginning of the Great Awakening.
Yeah.
I get it. I just thank you. I just felt so good, so honored to be here to witness it.
It's exciting. I think we chose this incarnation, and we're in the best time to be alive. And I'm sure that deep in our souls, our higher selves are so excited. To be now. That's what's going on. Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you.
And yes, we are in the midst of the reality revolution. Your title of your book is so on point, and that's what everybody's going to be talking about soon. And see, now the other thing is, when the mass reveal happens, people are going to be flocking to you and flocking to me. Wait a second, help me out with this, okay? It's like, hey, and that's what we're here to do. Like you said, when I launched my show, it was 6 months. I launched my show 6 months after my son's transition. Yeah. And I said, if I could just help one person, I've done my job. So that's what we're here to do. We're at the forefront. We're at the forefront of the awakening. So we have to, when the others start awakening, we have to be there to help them along. Well,
it's interesting. My book, it's only been out for a week. That it would have, and I've been working on it for a year. But of all the times for it to be released, it's like something, it came out right now for a reason. And the more and more I have conversations, it feels like, why of all the times did it, we've been planning on it being released for a year. So
but it came out.
It feels like that, it was meant to be, it's
perfect divine timing. Everything perfect divine time. Well, thank you so much. This has been so great. Yes. And this show will air. What's today? What is today? Because I don't even have April calendar. Today is the 8th.
8th of April.
So we will air on the 10th, Friday the 10th.
I can't wait to watch it.
I will. Well, I'm going to send you the link to share it, so you get to share it before you watch it. I promise.
Yes. I will share it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Okay. We'll keep in touch. Okay. All righty. Bye-bye. Hey, that was a great conversation with Brian Scott. We must check out his book that recently came out, is The Reality Revolution. Perfect title, perfect time for that book to come out. As I keep reminding people, please stay in these times of pandemic. It's actually a fear pandemic, more so than a pandemic of a virus. The mainstream media wants to put the masses in a state of fear. I've been saying that from day one, and believe it wholeheartedly. The virus is not nearly as bad as the media is making it out to be. And so I'm asking people to please try to stay in a place of love and compassion, and not go to a place of fear. That's the only way we give away our power, is when we are in a state of fear. We are much more powerful. We're more powerful than any virus when you're not in a state of fear. But I'm just sharing that from my heart. Also, I like to mention that I am offering a free mentoring session for anyone who's interested in having a mentoring session with me. You can go to my website, awake2onenessradio.org. That's awake with the number 2, onenessradio.org. Check me out there if you're interested in having a mentoring session with me. Also, I am hosting a monthly Zoom meeting this month. It will be Thursday, April 23rd at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you're interested in joining us for a monthly meeting, please just go to my website and I will send you the Zoom link for that. Also on my website, you can find a list of free online events that you might be interested in. Most of them this month are all on holistic healing, how to boost our immune system holistically, and how to heal our body holistically. So there's the list changes week to week, but there's about 5 to 6 different free online events that you can sign up for. Go to my website, you'll see the tab free online events. Check them out there. Also, I invite you to pledge $1 or $5 a month to help support Awake to Oneness Radio. It's completely nonprofit, and your support is greatly appreciated. So thank you. And everybody have a great day. Hope everybody stays well. Remember, wellness starts from within. Wellness is a mind, it's physical, it's mental, and it's spiritual. And when you are healthy mentally, spiritually, it affects your physical well-being. So please stay healthy, come from love, not fear, and namaste. Take care. Bye-bye.